Your wife doesn't look at you the same way anymore, does she? You feel it, the cold distance, the lack of desire. But what if I told you it's not too late to turn it around? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why attraction fades in marriage and how you can flip the script before it's too late. We're going live.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's going on, guys? It's Monday again. How about that Super Bowl? And you guys watch the Super Bowl? Nurse Chick, my son and I, we all went over to my parents' house to watch it. And I really don't watch football that much. I used to watch it, but you know, when players started taking the knee for the anthem and it got too politicized, I was like, I'm out. I'm out. The only real sport is pro wrestling anyway. Everybody knows that. Everything else is a work. But I still like to watch the Super Bowl every now and again. And if the Broncos aren't in it, typically my go-to is to root for the AFC team, right? Because otherwise I really don't care. I really don't care. And man, did Kansas City stink it up last night. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a shutout. Luckily they did get some points on the board, but good Lord, what a terrible outing for Mahomes, man. What a terrible outing. We were sort of joking about it because one of the things my mom kept saying is she's like, that Kelsey guy, he usually wears yellow shoes. And tonight he's not wearing yellow shoes. So we're like, yeah, that's it. That's it, Mom. It's the yellow shoes. Before we get too far into things, if you are new to this channel, my name is Paul Bauer and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about leveling up and getting better with women is that it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. All right. I want you guys to imagine this scenario. Your wife used to look at you with desire, but now it feels like you're just roommates. The passion is gone. The intimacy is rare. And no matter what you do, more date nights, more compliments, trying to talk things out, nothing seems to work. And you feel stuck, frustrated, and maybe even a little bit hopeless. And the worst part, deep down, you're starting to wonder if she's just settling for you, right? If she's only staying because it's easier than leaving. Maybe you've seen the signs. She's pulling away, avoiding intimacy, always too tired or too busy. If you don't fix this now, it could lead to resentment, emotional detachment, or even divorce. But here's the good news. Attraction isn't dead. It's just buried. And in this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how to reignite that spark. Okay. Rebuild that polarity and get your wife to want you again without begging, without chasing, and without playing the nice guy. So stick around, okay? Because by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do to change everything. Now, I will be going over a post I found in the Married Red Pill on Married Man Game, okay? Now, some of this stuff is good. I'll drop a link to it here in the private chat or in the live chat. If you guys watch live, you guys get links like this, right? If you guys are listening to replays, you guys don't get the links. I'm not very good about posting these links in the description anymore. But if you guys, it's a good reason to tune in live if you want to read this article. But you can always go over to YouTube after the fact and watch the replay because I usually allow live chats to show after the replay. So you can go back and find that. But so some of these ideas are good. But some of them come with some risks that you need to know about, right? Like you can overdo certain things. You could actually go too far with some of these. Well, a good example of this is when I talk to clients about tease, touch, and tell, right? You can go overboard with the teasing, right? You can tease so much that you stop being cocky funny and you start being a jerk. You know what I mean? And then like no one wants to be around you because you're kind of being an a-hole. Some things like that to think about. Okay. So there's some of that. And then there's some other things that might work, but they could actually destroy your marriage. So we'll get into that. You guys will want to watch this whole episode to get to some of those things. Before we get into it, though, thank you for watching live. I appreciate you guys that tune in live. Do like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, no matter what. If you guys are watching live right now, there's about a dozen people watching live. Hopefully more people filter in here, but there's about a dozen people watching live right now. Start off in the live chat. Okay. I want to hear from you. If you guys have any questions, you can even just drop your favorite emoji. It doesn't matter, just as long as, you're showing us that you're participating. Okay. But that all boosts us in the algorithm. If you guys are watching the replay, drop a comment below. It can be your favorite emoji. It doesn't really matter. And then if you guys are getting value from these episodes, do consider sending a super chat. Okay. All right. Just remember, if you guys send a $30 super chat, you get the Dirty Birdie Tootsie video for you weirdos, you weird foot fetish guys. All right. All right. So what I did was I took this article and I broke it into concepts, and I broke it into 3 sections. So the first section is good concepts for rebuilding attraction. Okay. So these are like solid, fundamental. You have to do these things. You have to at least learn these skills. Okay. So the first one is self-improvement through fitness, right? It's like the number one thing we say in the red pill space, right? Go to the gym, get your body back into shape. Okay. If you've let yourself go, let's turn it around. It's time to get back in shape. Okay. It does more than just makes you physically attractive. It's really good for your overall mental health. It shows discipline. There's lots of things that it's helpful with, right? But lifting weights and staying in shape, that obviously enhances attraction, right? If you ever read Rich Cooper's book, The Unplugged Alpha, he talks about the golden ratio of shoulders to hips, right? The shoulders to hips ratio, women like that V taper, right? If you can get that V taper, women are going to they're going to respond to that. They can't help it, right? Attraction's not a choice. Women are attracted to that sort of shape of a man. They're not attracted to a Michelin man typically, right? And most men are out of shape. Most men, if you especially in Western culture, we are out of shape. There was a Super Bowl ad and I was laughing, not because it was a funny ad, but because of their message was so stupid, right? It was for hers and hims, and they sell, Viagra pills, like they sell like off brand, Viagra, testosterone replacement therapy. They do like Mounjaro and like the weight loss stuff, like Ozempic and stuff like that. They sell the off brands of that online. And like whatever, like that's fine, right? Like I'm on TRT, like I don't have a problem with stuff like that. But their messaging was that the system, right? The system is broken and it's caused us to be fat and all this kind of stuff. And it's time to break free of the system by getting drugs. And I was like, is a big pharmaceutical company, like a company that's pushing pharmaceutical products, really trying to say that they're not a part of the system? Like, get out of here. Get out of here. Big Agra and big pharma get together to keep people fat and sick and lazy, right? So that they can keep feeding you medicines that don't quite fix the problem. They just treat the symptoms, right? But you got to keep coming back for more. Anyway, most people are fat and lazy. Okay. And so if you are just not fat, you're already in the top 25% of guys. I will scream that from the rooftops, right? I say that all the time. So going to the gym, lifting weights, staying in shape, that obviously boosts attraction and it sets you apart because most people are out of shape. Okay. Even moderate fitness stands out these days. The bar is so low. Okay. And then obviously physical strength contributes to confidence, which that confidence by itself is attractive. Just looking better, you're going to feel more confident, right? That's a big part of it. Some other things are developing social skills, right? Developing social skills. So engaging in small talk with strangers builds confidence. It also builds social proof, right? When you're out and about and you're talking with people and people are laughing at your witty behavior, you're with your wife, like she sees you being a social person that everyone likes, she naturally wants to like you too. She can't help it. Okay. It's social proof, right? Especially if they're attractive women. We're going to get into it a little bit later, but if you're out and about and you're bantering with everyone you talk to, including women, and the women are really responding positively to you, your wife really is going to notice that. And that pre-selection is going to kick in. And she'd be like, man, all these women like my husband. I should probably like him too, right? But just in general, just being a social person. One of the things that I was telling my client this morning, I have client calls on Monday mornings really early. And I was telling them that one of my other clients, he's in a really bad situation, and it's one of those situations where everything we're working on to make you a more attractive guy in the hopes of getting your wife to want to bang you again. Everything we're working on, like if it doesn't work out with your wife, you're in a better position when you divorce her and you go out in the dating circuit, because now you've built up the practice, right? You've become a more social person. You don't have to start from zero. You don't have to now all of a sudden I'm dumped. Now I go to the gym, because that's what most people do, right? They will let themselves get fat through a relationship. They'll wait till they get dumped, and then they're going to be like, oh, now I have to improve myself, as opposed to just realizing that you've let yourself go and improving yourself now, and hopefully, like, as a byproduct, save your current relationship. But if it doesn't work, you're in a better position. You're already there. You know what I mean? So a lot of that getting in the habit of being more social will make you more attractive in the event that your wife doesn't come around, right? Either way, like everything that we're working on, you're going to end up in a loving relationship with lots of sex. It just might not be with your wife. Okay. You can never fully guarantee that, because you're dealing with variables of human nature. We all have free will, right? Man, you guys are quiet in the chat. There's like 20 people watching right now, and you guys are silent, just dead silent. Am I blowing your mind right now, or you guys just haven't woken up yet? Do you guys need more energy drink? What's going on? All right, you guys are just, the Chiefs fans are just still mourning the loss, so like just absolutely getting shut out. Yeah. Anyway. Another thing about developing social skills is you learn to observe and approach people, and in learning that type of dynamic, right? You learn better habits of testing for interest, right? When you go up and talk to people, you're just testing for interest. When you think about it, if you're not trying to get someone's number, you're just testing to see if they want to talk to you or not. If they don't, no problem, right? Guys get into their head when it comes to like talking to women, because they're like, oh, now I got to have a slick pickup line or whatever. It's like when you go talk to the random guy at the gas station, you don't have a slick pickup line. You just start talking, right? Well, just do the same thing, and being charismatic and engaging, that benefits both marriage and in general life. People, you're going to, if you become more social, that develops more opportunities for you. Right? If you start learning to be more of the kind of guy that wants to network and meet new people, and meeting new people always creates new connections, that's super beneficial in all areas of your life, even like your professional life. You start meeting new people, and then when opportunities pop up, they're like, oh, hey, I know a guy that's interested in that sort of thing. Like, for instance, I love talking to new guys I like talking to everybody in the space, right? I try not to have beefs with anybody in the space. I was talking with a legendary guy this weekend on the phone, and he's the only guy in the space that I know that has been on every public stage all around the world. Like he's talked everywhere. And one of the things that one of my coaches wants me to do is to do more public speaking. So I reached out to him and I said, hey man, you're the only guy I know that does a lot of public speaking events. Like, how do I even get started with that? Like having those connections helps you in those areas, right? It has nothing to do with relationships. It has to do with business at that point, but that's just a good life skill. That's why I say at the beginning, learning these skills that make you better with women tend to make you better in all areas of your life, right? And then building an attractive frame. Okay. Like shout out to Rollo Tomasi, Iron Rollo Tomasi #1, frame is everything. A man needs to define his identity and embrace what makes him unique. Okay. And like, that's like, own that shit, right? A lot of people, they won't embrace who they truly are, and they try to like be something they're not to please other people. Okay. That's someone that is operating in other people's frame. But when you know who you are, you know what you want, and you don't compromise on your values, that's having frame. And actually women find that very attractive. Right. And people respect that. It's like there was another Super Bowl ad where the guy with the cowboy hat head, and he was really into Westerns, but all of the other people were into like Lord of the Rings stuff. So they had Lord of the Ring heads. But he just kept going through life like being who he was. He was a guy that enjoyed Westerns. And then when Westerns became popular again, and he noticed that everyone was on the cowboy bandwagon, he told the other people that, like the guys that had the wizard hat heads, but they were wearing cowboy hats on top of it. He's like, hey man, be who you are, right? That's, if you're someone that's always sort of jumping on the bandwagon, you're never fully in your frame, right? So you need to define your identity, embrace what makes you unique. And then confidence and personal interest makes you more engaging to your wife, right? If you like own the stuff that you like, your hobbies and stuff like that, and you don't compromise on that stuff, like your wife doesn't have to like the same things you like. It's okay. A lot of guys are like, oh, I want a woman that goes fishing and hunting and all this kind of stuff with me. And it's like, well, why don't you marry a dude? If you want a woman that does everything that you like all the time, marry a dude with Asperger's. I don't know, but your wife doesn't have to like the same things you like, okay? But she's going to like that you're into the things that you're like. You're into the things that you like, right? And then having a clear sense of self prevents neediness and increases your attractiveness in general. All right, people are talking here. Hey, Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, "Good morning, gentlemen. Happy Monday." She gets this thing.
I'm so naughty.
I'm gonna come.
Mm-hmm. Erkin's in the house. He says, "It is afternoon in Sweden." Oh, hey, well, good afternoon, Erkin. And then Nurse Chick says, "I definitely notice when women check you out, and I would say it benefits us both." Dorothy says, "Buenos dias. You need espresso." Oh, got it. Yeah, go get your espresso and then come back. Okay. All right, guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms and some of the bad ones. Get on the email list, because that way, if I ever get kicked off of a platform, you guys will know where to find me. I can tell you like how to find me. That's one of it. 2, you get a free ebook, She's Made You Weak, which is all about the betaization process, which explains why attraction tends to erode over time in a relationship. And a lot of like women will gaslight their men and say, oh yeah, sex normally dries up after a long time. It doesn't have to. Okay. Read this. You'll understand what's really happening there. It's not that sex normally dries up after, over time. It's that attraction fades if you let it, right? So get the ebook by signing up for the email list. There's a bunch of people that have signed up for this, and they also get the free stickers when you use list.comeonmanpod.com. So I have a whole bunch of stickers I still need to mail out to people. So be patient with me. If you guys don't want stickers though, just put "don't want stickers" in the address field. And then you can get my books. I have 3 of them out. Books.comeonmanpod.com. I'm a 3-time author. I haven't caught up with that bastard Ryan Stone yet, but someday I might. We'll see. He's got like 800 books coming out though, so it's going to take me a while to catch up with him. My latest book though does talk about the betaization process, but really goes in depth on how to turn that dynamic around. So let me play a commercial for that, and then we'll get back to the topic today.
Are you tired of the dead bedroom? Wondering what happened to the passion, the connection, and the spark? Well, here's your answer. Introducing Get Her to Fuck You Again, a red pill guide to fix a dead bedroom. Now on Amazon. This isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about real strategies that work. If your wife has stopped being intimate with you, it's not because the love is gone. It's because the attraction is gone. And that's fixable. This book will teach you the skills to lead your marriage, rebuild your confidence, and become the man she can't stop thinking about. 3 reasons to get this book. 1. It breaks the cycle. You'll learn how to stop doing the same things that are killing her attraction and start doing the things that reignite it. 2. It's practical and proven. With clear, actionable steps, you'll build yourself into the man you were always meant to be. 3. It works for men like you. Paul Bauer has helped hundreds of men just like you fix their dead bedrooms. And now, it's your turn. Don't let another day go by feeling frustrated and disconnected. Go to Amazon right now and buy Get Her to Fuck You Again. Read it, apply it, and watch your marriage transform. The connection isn't gone forever. You just need the roadmap to get it back. And this book is it.
Let me put this back here. There we go. Erkin asks, are you also streaming on Twitter? YouTube interrupts with ads. I do. I stream to Twitter and Facebook, but if you guys really don't like these ads, consider sending more super chats. Okay. Brothers got to keep the bills paid. You know, StreamYard costs like $300 a year, you know, it ain't free. All right. So the next section here is based on the same article, but it's ideas that work, but there's some risks involved that you guys should consider. Okay. So the first one is gaming your wife like a new prospect, right? And this is I actually think this is a good idea, right? You want to get things back to the beginning when things were hot and heavy, right? When she really was into you, it was at the beginning when she was a prospect, right? So you want to get back to a place where you're gaming, you're running game on your girl, okay? And you always have to run game on your girl. All right. Now, a lot of people look at game like it's manipulation. It's I mean, life is manipulation if you think about it, right? But you know, women basically invented manipulation. The thing is that when women can manipulate guys and guys let that happen, they lose respect for them, right? So you got to learn how to be able to set boundaries and stuff like that. But running game on your girl, like learning how to seduce her, learning how to like, you know, do playful banter and all that kind of stuff, it's going to boost that attraction, right? So it's important. So treating your wife like a woman to be gamed can reignite attraction. And it often does, because women want to be gamed. Women want to play the game. They just don't want to be told they're playing a game. That's why you can't red pill women. You can't tell them why they like what they like and try to explain it to them. A lot of you guys that come to the red pill space, you know, when a woman shit tests you, you go into a whole explanation like, that was a shit test. Let me explain to you why you're psychologically doing that. And that just completely takes women out, right? Because like they don't want to know they're playing the game, right? They just want to play the game with you. Okay. So using stuff like teasing, cocky humor, flirtation, all that kind of stuff creates sexual tension. Like your 3 biggest tools with creating healthy emotional anticipation and tension are tease, touch, and tell, right? Teasing her, that's like playful banter. Touching her, you know, breaking that touch barrier, right? Touching her shoulder when you talk to her, slapping her ass when you walk behind her, you know, walking up and kissing her on the back of the neck, like all that kind of stuff builds sexual tension, right? All that's good. Flirting with her, you know, like, you know, making eye contact and winking at her and stuff like that. If you're in a crowded room and you send her a dirty text message, like that kind of stuff creates sexual tension. Okay. Now, there's some risk. You can overdo it, right? It could come across like it's, if it's done manipulative or insincerely, it could backfire, right? Like she's like, wait a second, what is like, if I guess I would say if you're overdoing it, she doesn't believe that's who you are. That's where she's going to start shit testing you. And then if you fail the shit test, she's going to know that this is all bullshit, right? So that's why you got to learn how to handle shit tests and stuff like that. So when you run this game on her and then she goes to test you to see if this is authentically you, like you could pass those shit tests, and then she starts trusting that, okay, no, he's actually being an attractive guy again. I actually kind of like this. Okay. Maintaining a sense of scarcity. So here's the thing. This is kind of difficult to do in a marriage. Okay. But it has to be done. Right. What a lot of guys tend to do is they overly make themselves available. Right. If they're not at work, they're at home. And they have nothing going on outside of the marriage, outside of the house. And so their wife, basically all your free time is you're occupying all your wife's free time, and she's occupying all your free time. And a lot of guys think, well, that's what my wife wants. She might say that, but that's not like that. You're going to end up suffocating her, and then it's going to become boring and routine. It's actually not healthy. It's not healthy for the relationship. So you actually want to have a little bit of separation, right? You want to have things going on outside the house, outside the relationship, outside the marriage. And I'm not talking about like cheating on your wife, but like having activities that you go and do that she doesn't necessarily come along for, right? Like a good example of this is Aaron Clary, right? Aaron Clary loves going hiking, and he goes hiking like freaking, I don't know, 7 days a week. And his girl, if you guys didn't know that, Clary's been with the same girl for like over 20 years now. They have a really healthy relationship, but he goes hiking by himself because she typically doesn't like hiking the way he hikes, right? Which is like parkouring through the forest. And it's like, it's his, he's out there like just really humping it. And, she likes more leisurely walks. So she's just like, I'm not going to go. And that's fine. That gives them space, and attraction actually grows in space and it dies in close proximity. So you have to create a little bit of artificial separation with your wife, right? So you want to avoid excessive availability, because if you're not always available, if you're a scarce resource, that makes you more valuable. Like think of why gold is valuable, right? It's a scarce resource, right? Water arguably is more important than gold, because if we don't have water, we die, but it's such an abundant resource that it's cheap. Right? But gold is rare, so it's more valuable. So you want to make yourself more rare so that she values you more, right? And if you're out and about and you're always off, not always, but if you're like regularly going out doing things yourself, your wife could perceive you as having more options, right? If here's the thing. Alan Roger Curry said it really well. Pussy attracts pussy, right? And I mentioned it before, this concept of pre-selection. Women like men that other women like, okay? If she doesn't know what you're doing all the time, and it causes her to wonder, like, I wonder if he's seeing other women, a lot of times that really re-engages your wife's competition anxiety, and she puts in more effort, right? She's like, oh, well, if these other women are trying to get him and I still love him, that's the key part, right? There's still like a baseline of attraction and love there, and she doesn't want to lose you. Women tend to put in more effort because they're like, oh, I got to make sure that he's happy so he doesn't stray, right? So you just not being always available and going out and doing your own things on occasion causes that hamster wheel to work a little bit, right? Now, the risk here is that if you're doing too much of it, it could create more distance instead of desire, right? If you're never at home, right? If you're like, you're always staying the night. There's some stories in the Married Red Pill where guys, they'll just like be gone for 2 nights, right? Like if you do that kind of thing, your wife is definitely going to think that you're cheating. And a lot of women don't want to overtly be cheated on, right? So they're going to start, that's really going to cause a lot of unnecessary tension in your relationship. So you got to be careful about that, right? But if you have Wednesday nights bowling night with the boys, or like you join a bowling league, and she knows that every Wednesday you go bowling, and that creates that space in the relationship where she can have a break from you can have a break from her, and that kind of stuff used to be the norm, right? Back in like the 50s, in the 40s, dads would join like the Masons or the Elks Lodge, and they would go out and hang out with the men, once a week or twice a week. And, women would go and join a cribbage club or a reading group or something. And like they had that sort of separation outside the marriage, and then they would come back later and have their time together, But most guys don't do that anymore. They think that their wife has to constantly occupy, or you have to constantly occupy your wife's time, right? So you got to be careful of that, right? You can't be like, I mean, you can, but you just got to know that there's some risks involved there. If you're like going out and spending 2 nights out and you're not coming home and that kind of stuff, that could create some problems that are unnecessary, I think. Mirroring seductive behaviors. So practicing facial expressions and body language that improves nonverbal communication. I highly recommend that kind of stuff, right? You want to practice dominant masculine body language. You want to take up space. You want to have relaxed body language. You want to not be crossing your arms. You want to not be having your hands in your pockets. When you sit, you want to man spread a little bit. You know, when you're sitting, you want to have more laid back, sort of cool demeanor. When you're standing, you want to stand with your feet like a shoulder width or a shoulder and a half widths apart, right? Because you want to take up that space, right? That kind of stuff. You want to make eye contact with her left eye, that kind of stuff. All that stuff does help boost attraction. Okay. Matching and mirroring her behavior, right? If you're sitting at a table and, and she does this with her hand, if you wait a few minutes and then you do this with your hand, right? That matching and mirroring her body language, that actually builds rapport. That's an NLP technique. And the idea behind that is that people like people who are like themselves. So if you're matching body language, people subconsciously pick that up and they like that. They like you more when you do that sort of thing. So you can do that kind of stuff on your wife. Seduction skills enhance perceived confidence. So if you're big problem that guys have too when it comes to sex with their wives and why sex is sort of lackluster is because guys don't seduce their wives anymore, right? A lot of times they just sort of like go through the motions throughout the day and then they go to bed and they just expect sex. Hey, it's 10 p.m. It's sexy time, right? Like, and women need to have their pump primed a little bit, and that's why I tell guys, get in the habit of doing kino escalation like all throughout the day. When you see your wife, like always be like, go in and, kiss her on the back of the neck, go in, wrap your arms around her and sort of like, sort of playfully, whatever. Like if she's doing dishes, like come up behind her and grab her around the waist, right? Touch her butt when you go behind her, stuff like that. If you open a door for her, guide her through the door by touching her lower back, like all that kind of stuff throughout the day, little by little. You go in, you touch her, you kiss her or whatever, and then you pull back and go about your day. By the time it's time for bed, like she's a little more in the mood, right? We call that kino escalation. But most guys don't do that. Most guys aren't being flirty and stuff like that all throughout the day. And then at the end of the night, it's just like, hey, it's scheduled sex time, right? And that kills attraction. So you don't want to do that. And then the risk here is that if it's overdone, if you're overly doing the body language stuff, if you're overly matching and mirroring her to a point where it's just super obvious that you're doing it, all that kind of stuff will just seem really forced and unnatural, and it won't do anything to boost attraction. So that's why there's some risk there, right? You gotta sort of like, sprinkle the little of this in at a time. So it just seems like more natural and more of what you do, but you don't want to overdo it. Right. All right. What we got here, guys? Consider joining the beer club. If you're a guy, it's a men's only group. If you're a guy and you want to swap notes with other like-minded guys, other guys that are going through similar experiences, and you want some help with that, beer club's a perfect place for it. If we have a lot of guys in there that are working on their fitness and weight loss. We have some guys that are getting over breakups and divorce. We have other guys that are out there on the dating circuit. They're working on their dating profiles. We have a wide array of guys in there. We have guys that are in long-term relationships or they're married and they've done all this type of stuff to fix their marriages. So if you're in a place where your marriage is on the rocks and you want to swap notes with other guys that have been through your situation, join the beer club. It's only $10 a month. And then we have monthly hangouts, which we're coming up in the middle of the month here. We'll probably have to do it at the end of the month, I think. maybe next week. I think we'll probably do it on the 20th. We'll have our next hangout on the 20th, I think. That should work out pretty good. But yeah, get in Beer Club, guys. It's only $10 a month, and it's just a great place to level up with other men. And then if you want more one-on-one coaching, if your marriage is really in a rough spot and you want to try to turn things around and everything that you've tried doesn't work, book a free call with me. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right. So this last section here, guys, now here's the thing, like Red Pill isn't about morals, right? We sort of say, this is what is, right? And then you can apply your own morals on top of that. For instance, I am not a fan of cheating. I don't like cheating. I'm sort of a golden rule kind of guy, like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay. I don't want people cheating on me, so I'm not going to do that on them. That's a personal choice. Okay. Cheating is also a personal choice. And if that's what you think that you have to do, okay, but realize that there's some serious risks involved and it could absolutely destroy your marriage. Okay. Especially if you're doing this type of stuff in order to try to fix your marriage. And so then you go out and cheat. Like, you got to think about that a little bit, right? I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I'm just going to say that there's some inherent risks that you should be aware of, right? Like, for instance, let's say you're cheating on your wife and you're cheating on with another guy's wife, right? And that husband catches you, and he might end your life with a shotgun. Okay, there's some inherent danger doing that sort of thing. Okay, just something to be aware of. Okay, so these are concepts that are introduced in the original article, and the ideas introduce deception and emotional detachment, which could harm a relationship. Now, the thing is about emotional detachment is it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I kind of recommend guys be a little more lovingly detached in the relationship. And I say lovingly because the reason why you're staying detached is out of love, so that you don't fall into complacency, so that you can always keep an eye on your wife's attraction level. One of the things I learned from Doc Love years ago, and Corey Wayne adopted it too, is the scale of attraction. A woman will only be with a man if her attraction level is above a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And the goal is to keep your wife or girlfriend at a 9 or 10 level where she's madly in love with you. And then her behavior is going to tell you where she's at on the scale. So that way, if you're not lovingly detached, if you've got your love goggles on, you're never going to notice the signs that her attraction's fading. Okay. So if you stay lovingly attached, you're just more, you could be more strategic about things, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But one of the things that he recommends is flirting and escalating with other women. Okay. Now, one of the things that I prefer to tell guys to do is to be more social in general, talk to everybody you meet, and be sort of cocky, funny, and playful with everyone you talk to, men and women. The thing is that when you do that, you're not overtly flirting per se with other women, but it does come across as flirty, and like the women will flirt back, and that just makes you a naturally more attractive guy. What he's talking about is literally going up and day gaming other women, right? So he recommends creating emotional or sexual tension outside the marriage, like actually go out and try to get girls' numbers and all that kind of stuff. That might be a good thing to do if you know that the marriage is over anyway, right? Like, you're like, I need to get some practice in before I go and file these divorce papers, right? Like, maybe, okay. Otherwise, I think it's highly unnecessary. That's just me personally, though. Do what you want. The article talks about pushing boundaries with other women as practice. Okay. So he's like, if you go out and practice this stuff, getting numbers, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you could definitely do it. it wouldn't hurt, especially if you know that things are going to end, and you'll just be a better practice for it when you finally do go out to the dating circuit. Okay. But if you're out doing this kind of thing, and like if you're in a small town like my town, and word gets around back to your wife that you're doing that, that could definitely undermine trust, and can, and it could lead to infidelity. Like, what if like some of these women sort of take you up on your offer? A lot of guys, the only reason why they don't cheat is because they don't have options. So they'll go out and create options for themselves, and now they'll have the overwhelming urge to cheat, and they probably will. Right. So it could lead to infidelity, even if that's not your goal. You know what I mean? So there's some risk there. That's all I'm saying. There's some risk there. Just keep that in mind. All right. One of the things that he talks about is ditching the wedding ring for plausible deniability. So stop wearing your wedding ring, he says, right? So hiding your marital status while interacting with other women. Now here's the funny thing about that. When I was reading that, is that the funny thing is that having a wedding ring on actually makes you more attractive to women. It's kind of a funny thing, but women see that as social proof, as pre-selection. If another woman chose you to get married, they actually find that more attractive. There's studies on this, right? Women find married guys more attractive. So I don't know if taking it off is going to help your chances all, but for the women that are very, sort of morally based, which we would like them all to be, but they're not all. Hiding that marital status will make them not question that situation as much, right? And it creates a false sense of availability to attract more interest in you. So that's what he advocates for. And the morally questionable thing here, which I said again, like red pill's not about morals. So I'm applying my own personal morals on this. You can take it or leave it, okay? But normalizing that deception, or normalizing deception, kind of signals a lack of commitment there. But if you're at a place in your marriage where she's not fucking you anymore, that sort of signals a lack of commitment there too, don't you think? So I don't know. It's kind of creates a tit for tat type thing. For me, it would be more about avoiding that temptation. So I prefer to be a little more passive with that kind of thing. But that's just me. That's just me. You do you, boo. Keeping two in the kitty. That's one of Royce's 16 commandments of Poon, right? Basically have a backup girl in mind. And you'll find that most women do this. There was a study that was done, 2011, 2014, that vast majority of women have a backup guy in mind if the relationship fails. Right? Because most women have some kind of male orbiter or male orbiters in their lives, like always as options. They just might not be exercising the options, but her work husband, the guy that's always chatting her up at work and inviting her out to lunch, and maybe she does go to lunch with him on occasion or whatever. There's guys in her DMs and stuff like that. There's like women have infinitely more options than guys. And so women tend to monkey branch a little bit more, right? When the relationship's failing, they start lining up those male orbiters and stuff like that. So that's essentially what he's saying, right? So he advocates having backup options, other women in case of divorce. And I honestly don't think that's necessary. I don't think that's necessary personally, because there's always going to be options after you get divorced, right? Especially if you've worked on being a more attractive man in general. If you're a more attractive man and you're out talking to everyone you meet and stuff like that, you'll notice all the options around you. You don't have to actively pursue them while you're still married or still in a relationship. You don't have to do that, right? That's all I'm saying. Like, you could do that if you wanted to. I personally don't think it's necessary, right? But that's what he advocates, having backup options. And that sort of thing could create emotional distance from the wife by shifting focus externally. That doesn't always happen with men, right? Men and women, our minds are different. Like, we're sort of wired differently when it comes to cheating. right? When a woman steps out, women overwhelmingly are more in love with the new guy, right? They are. It's almost like women can only love one guy at a time with their hypergamous nature, right? So the guy that they're banging, that they're enthusiastically banging, is the guy that they're in love with. And if it's not you and it's some other guy that she's stepping out with, she doesn't love you, right? She doesn't love you. She loves this new guy, this new pursuit. Guys, on the other hand, because we're wired to be more polygynous, right? We're wired to seek variety outside, like have unlimited access to unlimited sex with unlimited women. That's sort of what we're wired for. Men can step out of the relationship and actually bang other women and still be in love with his wife. Like men are different that way. So it won't always create that emotional distance from your wife, but it definitely will if she catches you and she don't like it. But a lot of women are funny too, because if they as long as you're not embarrassing them and it doesn't get like like the whole neighborhood doesn't know that you're sleeping around, and she sort of maintains that level of reputation, like most women are almost like okay with guys cheating, right? It's a very funny dynamic. Like they might get upset at first, but they don't necessarily leave their husbands for cheating. It's kind of a funny thing. It's just weird, just how men and women are wired differently that way, right? But it definitely, if you have women as backup plans, definitely increases the likelihood of infidelity and marriage breakdown, especially if, man, you go out and you find a girl and she's just treating you like an absolute king, and your wife is treating you like, she's taking you for granted and she just treats you like garbage. You're going to definitely be like, yeah, I don't need my wife anymore. Which that's sort of on your wife, I guess. I don't know. Is it though? I mean, if you look at it from a moral perspective, like you are the one that cheated, but then I don't know. The funny thing is women tend to blame men for that, right? Like if a woman goes out and cheats, it's not her fault because her man should have been doing X, Y, and Z. It's never the woman's fault, right? But if a guy cheats, he's a dirty scoundrel. The way I look at it is like whoever cheats is a piece of shit, right? They're a piece of shit no matter what the justification is. That's me. That's personally me. That's not red pill praxeology. That's Paul's praxeology. That's what I say. Like you can take red pill is taking the morals out of it, and then you put your own morals on top of it, right? If you don't have the moral scruples to do this stuff, then by all means, go do whatever you're going to do. And then the last one, encouraging infidelity as a means to gain power. So he suggests that cheating or having options increases a man's frame. I don't think you need to cheat to work on your frame. I don't think cheating has anything to do with your mental frame, personally, unless you're looking at it from the concept of having an abundance mentality, right? Which a lot of guys don't have an abundance mentality. They operate in scarcity when it comes to women. So they're always looking at their woman like, I can't possibly let her leave because there's no other woman that'll like me, right? And it's like there's 4 billion other women on the planet. You're going to be okay. So if you have that abundance mentality anyway, you don't have to go out and bang other women to feel. To me, that's very feminine, right? In order to feel abundant, you have to go bang other women. You can just know you have options out there. But the best way of learning that you have options is by, when you're in the dating circuit, spinning plates, right? Get in the habit of spinning plates when you're dating, because that actually does allow you to realize that there really is another bus every 15 minutes. There's always another woman. You don't have to worry about if your wife leaves you or you decide that things aren't working out, and you can, you're not scared to end things, right? It frames monogamy as a weakness rather than a commitment. I wouldn't say, I don't think a commitment's necessarily strength either. It's kind of an interesting thing to say, but it's like, I don't necessarily look at monogamy as weakness. I think that's a personal preference, right? A lot of guys like the convenience of monogamy, right? It's even Rollo said at one time, it's probably been 2 years now. I know he said it on a live stream. I couldn't tell you the exact live stream. But I know he said it before. He said, there's something to be said about knowing where your pussy's going to come from, right? Now I have to go out and hunt that pussy. You have pussy at home, right? There's something to be said about that, right? It's kind of convenient to have that. But I don't look at that as weakness, right? Being monogamy, like it's all in your mindset about it. You know what I mean? You can have an abundance mindset and still be a monogamous person. So I don't think it's a weakness at all. And then it ignores long-term consequences, including emotional damage and divorce. Yeah, you cheating on your wife's probably going to create some emotional damage. That's not necessarily your problem, though. It's kind of her problem, I guess. I guess it depends on how on your reasoning behind it all. You know, whether you want to go do that. I just don't think it's necessary to do. I just really don't. I really just am a do as you say, or I'm sorry, not as do unto others as you would have them do unto you kind of guy. So I just don't think it's necessary to inflict that kind of emotional damage on someone, but it definitely could lead to divorce. And divorce, man, in some states, if like your wife can prove infidelity, like there's certain consequences with that. If you can prove infidelity on your wife's part in certain states, like you don't have to pay alimony. There's one of my legacy date coaching clients he's in Georgia, I think. And I think Georgia is one of those states where if you have like evidence that your wife cheated on you, you don't have to pay any kind of alimony or anything like that. I think you still have to pay child support, but you don't have to pay alimony. And so he has like all sorts of evidence. He hired a private investigator and caught his wife cheating, but I don't know, man. It definitely could lead to divorce. And I think for guys, divorce has a lot of consequences to it that you want to avoid if possible, right? There's lots of monetary consequences. There's, the average cost of divorce is somewhere between like $30,000 and $100,000, right? And that's just like, that's attorney's fees. And it depends on if there's like, children involved and in custody battles and all that kind of stuff. There's opportunity cost loss. There's stuff like you have to refurnish your house. There's all sorts of like just expenses along with that on top of the alimony payments and the child support payments, all that kind of stuff. Plus the emotional, wreckage of a divorce. It's just not good for anybody. So if you go out there and you're actively cheating, like just know that if you get caught, like you're like 9 times out of 10 most likely going to just blow up the marriage. Like you might as well at that point just go file for divorce. If you want to go out and start exercising those options, like it's just, for me, I would just go end things, right? But that's me. Do what you gonna do, all right? So I'll drop a link to that here in the chat again. Here we go. All right. So that's all I got, guys. Hopefully it's found that information helpful or interesting at least. Don't see any super chats there, so we're going to have to keep the ads on, Erkin. Guys, tune in the podcast on Wednesday. We're going to be going over chapter 6 in my book, Get Her to Fuck You Again. And chapter 6 is on rediscovering your masculine presence, right? A big problem that causes erosion in marriage is the lack of polarity, right? Guys tend to be more compromising. They tend to go with the flow more. They tend to be more passive. All those are feminine qualities. We want to get back to the beginning and have you really embrace your masculine presence, because that's going to reignite that polarity and rebuild that attraction. So that's what we're going to go over on Wednesday. If you guys haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And thank you for everyone that sounded off in the live chat. I appreciate you guys. If you guys do tune into these episodes, please consider sending super chats. That helps support the show probably more than anything else. Get on the email list. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list and get my free ebook, She's Made You Weak. And then if you guys want to go more in depth on fixing your relationship, get my latest book, Get Her to Fuck You Again. I also have, if you want to rebuild your mindset to have more of a dominant masculine presence, the second book is Psychology Paradigm. And then my first book is just an overall handbook for life. Everything I wish I knew when I was 18. If you guys are out in the dating circuit right now, like if you guys are past a divorce phase and you're getting to the point where you have to get back out there and, get back on the dating circuit, you've been out of practice for a long time, this is the book for you. Everything I wish I knew when I was 18. It has the longest chapter in the book is dating and spinning plates. So you guys will find that really valuable. Let's see here. Get in Beer Club, guys. Our next hangout's going to be next week on the 20th? We'll do that. And then if you guys want to book a one-on-one call with me, you could do so at call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. Here we go. Erkin sent a $20. What is that? SEK? What is SEK? What is that? That's from Swedish. That's Swedish money. Anyway, thank you for the show. It's really useful. I appreciate you, man. I'm going to play you this because it's the $20 super chat. You get the booty shaking video.
Super chat will see you there. Shake it, dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. Your support is so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
And demonetized. All right, guys, we'll see you on Wednesday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.